Hello everyone, how are you all? I hope you all are keeping fine and safe. So let's start our video today. In this video today, we are going to discuss about the subjective question paper, and each question paper will have 5 marks. So you can understand the length of the question paper. It will be around 200 words approximately. So see, we have the first question inside. See, what is the question? Describe the economic conditions of later Vedic period. This is the first part of the question. Along with it, you have how was it different from the Rig Vedic life? Now you already have some idea about the Rig Vedic life, right? So the question, the first part, as it is asking you about the later Vedic period condition, okay, the economic conditions of it. So let's go to it. Firstly, you have to talk about the growing importance of agriculture. Like in the early Vedic period, what happened? There was not much agriculture that was done. That is, there were only few crops that were being produced. Now, when we come to the later Vedic age, the main product for this is vrihi. The vrihi, which we call present day, it is rice. So the main things that they used to produce in the later Vedic period was yava, barley, vrihi. Now, vrihi later on became one of the most staple food for their consumption. So you can understand which was not found in the early Vedic period, okay, or the Rig Vedic period. So not only this, apart from Yava, barley, Vihi, there were other food crops also that started coming up. Okay, like millets and all these things also started coming up. But the basic three things that happened during this agricultural period, which contributed to the economic condition for this, is mainly Yava, barley, and Vihi. Coming to the next point, you see crafts and occupation. Now, craft and occupation, as you know, this is so much money oriented, right? Crafts and occupation, the more craft they started making, the better money or the better economic position started increasing. So, crafts and occupation included using of iron. There were various weapons or various utensils that started being made out of iron. Not only that, there were leather works used in various things. Next, they had carpentry. Next, they had jewelry making and glass manufacture. Now, if you look at the pictures of this later Vedic period, you will find mansions or all these houses having glass there. So this was a new material that was coming up, and glass manufacture was very economical at that time. So jewelry was also quite fashionable. So all these crafts and occupations started coming up. So with all these using of iron, leather working, carpentry, jewelry making, glass manufacture, they started consuming themselves also because they started using all these. But definitely this was exported also. As we come to the next point, see the next question that the next point that we have is trade and industry. So all these things, that the jewelry they were making, the glass manufactures that were happening, all the beautiful leather craft that they were making, now this started being exported outside. Okay. Now how this was being exported outside? Firstly, we see trade and industry. So trade, what we started getting is Niksha, Satmana, and inland maritime trade. Now trade and industry, they started growing by inland maritime trade. There were ships at those times which helped trade and industry flourish. Okay, so with this trade and industry flourishing, all the goods from this place was traveling to the other, and the goods from the other place was coming and getting imported here. So export and import was easily available at those times, only through this inland maritime trade, which was again not there in the Rig Vedic period, which was available only in the later Vedic period. Because in times of the early Vedic period or the Rig Vedic period, we don't find the mention of trade and industry. And Niksha and Satmana. Now, Niksha and Satmanas are currencies, coins and currencies that starting being exchanged because of this occupation, that is trade and industry. Since trade and industry was growing, niksha, that is coins, and satmana, which is currency, this started being exchanged. As a result, the more industry started developing. More craft and occupation from this area had been exported, and from exporting, we had been importing. So export and import started developing only because of this trade and industry, and also because of the currency. So the question that we have, describe the economic conditions of the later Vedic period. Definitely the economic condition of the later Vedic period was very, very better or very good compared to the Rig Vedic life. And how was it different from the Rig Vedic life? You have to explain all these 3 points. That is growing importance of agriculture, crafts and occupation, trade and industry. Okay. So if these 3 points are clear to you, then I'm sure I will be able to proceed to the next question. Proceeding to the next question. Discuss the similarities and differences between basic tenets of Buddhism and Jainism. Now, this is again a descriptive question where you will be having to discuss between the similarities also. Along with it, you have to explain the differences also. Okay, so let's start with the similarities first. What are the similarities? See, God, rituals, and Vedas had no place in both the religions because both the religions renounced God. They never believed in rituals, especially against Hinduism, because Hinduism had a lot of rituals, a lot of offerings to be made, a lot of complex procedures that the normal people were not able to find, or not they were not able to find the value out of it. So then they started renouncing these rituals, and both of them simultaneously said God, ritual, and Vedas had no place in any of the religions. Next, both used the popular dialects as vehicles for their teachings. Okay, they believed usually the mass were the people where they could be able to spread what they believe. Okay, they never targeted some rich people or some monastery or some mansion or some dynasty particularly, but they believe that if you spread these beliefs to the mass, then this will start getting spreaded automatically. So both used the popular dialects as vehicles for their teachings. Next, non-violence was an indispensable part of their creed. Both of this, that is the Jainism and the Buddhism, both of them believed that it was non-violence only that can lead us to nirvana. Now, non-violence, or in normal terms, we can say this as ahimsa. Okay. Now, few believed of complete non-violence, few believed only of non-violence. That was the difference that I'll come to the next part. So, non-violence, both of them preached, and this was a very crucial part of both, that is Jainism as well as Buddhism. Next, coming to nirvana as one's ultimate aim in life. Now, you know what is nirvana or moksha. Now, you already have some concept about this, but still I'll give you some introduction. That is freedom from the normal birth cycle of life, right? Now, what was this actually? Both of them had very much interest about nirvana. Both of them renounced rituals, Vedas, and both of them said that our only aim in life is to get freedom from the normal birth cycle. And how can we attain this? Through meditation. And both of them concentrated on nirvana or moksha. Coming to the fifth similarity, they had organized monasteries for monks and nuns to live. Because the people who started spreading Buddhism and Jainism, they had a separate place to live which they could not share with the normal people. And so monasteries were made so that they could dedicate their entire life into meditation and concentrate on it. And not only that, they can dedicate their life for the service of the citizens of the area. And that is why their monasteries were made, so that they could preach whatever they believe, they could preach the principles of Jainism and Buddhism simultaneously. And not only that, they had organized monasteries so that monks and nuns could live peacefully and dedicate their life to both these religions. Okay. Now, if the similarities are clear, I will be proceeding on to the differences. The differences that we have is, firstly, a very simple difference is Buddhism was started by Lord Buddha and Jainism was started by Mahavir. So we will not be able to write that definitely in this level of examination. The main differences that we are going to write is Jains believed in severe asceticism, whereas Buddhism advocated the middle path. Now, Jains believe that if you do severe penance, if you hurt yourself to a supreme level, only then you will be able to get the goal of your life. Whereas Buddhism was a little bit different. They said that Buddhism followed the middle path. That is, you can penance yourself, you can follow asceticism, but to a certain level, not beyond that. Okay. So Jains believed in severe asceticism, whereas Buddhism advocated the middle path. Next, the second point that we have is Jainism carried the principle of ahimsa to an extreme point. Buddhism did not carry it to that end. This point also, it is very much similar to the first point that we have. For Jains also, Jainism, they carried this principle of ahimsa to an extreme level. Okay, without any compromise, they were able to do ahimsa to an extreme level. But Buddhism, they believe that yes, we should definitely do ahimsa, non-violence, but not to the end that will create any harmful effect. That means we will be doing Buddhism, that means we will be following ahimsa to a certain level. Again, we can say they adopted the middle path. Okay, like the first point, they adopted the middle path. For the second point also, we can say that they adopted the middle path. Coming to the third point that we have, Jains give greater importance to laity, whereas Buddhists relied more on the Sangha. Okay. Now, laity, these were the things that Jains usually believed in. Okay. These were the things that they had their faith on. So, definitely, Jains could not separate themselves from laity. And as a result, what happened? Buddhists did not believe or did not give much importance to the laity. As a result, they started being relying on the Sangha. Okay, the Buddhist Sangha that we usually know and we usually term that. Okay, so this started happening. So this was the main difference that the Buddhist and the Sangha started, the Buddhist and the Jains started clashing because Jains usually believed on the laity, whereas the Buddhist always believed on the Sangha. Now, what is the laity? People who help to manage the affairs of the Jains, that is, the monks and the nuns that they usually have. Now, people who help them manage is usually called the laity. So now Jains started relying on the laity, and Buddhists had their own sangha who helped them carry out their meditation, work, and all other processes. So this was the main difference. Okay. So I hope the similarities and the differences both are clear. I'll repeat again. Both of them believed that God, rituals, and Vedas had no place in religion. Both of them believed that only popular dialects was a vehicle for the teachings. Non-violence was an important and essential part of the teaching. And nirvana was the ultimate aim in the life, nirvana or moksha. And they had organized monasteries for monks and nuns to live. The difference that we have is Jains believed in severe asceticism or penance, whereas Buddhism followed the middle path. Jains again believed in severe ahimsa, or they carried the principle of ahimsa to an extreme level, whereas again Buddhism followed a middle path, and Jains gave greater importance to laity, whereas Buddhism gave greater importance to Sangha. So I have discussed question 1A and B here. In the next videos, I'll be coming up with the next subdivisions of part 1 and 2. So we'll conclude my video here. I hope you liked this. Stay happy and stay safe. We'll conclude my video here. Thank you for patiently hearing me out. I hope this video will give you some benefit. Thank you so much.